Okay, YouTubers, welcome back. This is number 5 on how to weld, how to MIG weld. I plan on doing an entire series of these. I'm going to go through MIG welding until I basically run out of things to say. All of it's unstructured, and we're just going to keep it all casual. And I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks as I go along to help you out. And you know, if it doesn't help you, well, that's too bad. So we get back to the 2-inch square tube that we had. Just gonna make like a T-joint. So I've got that sitting there, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my tri-square. I'm gonna loosen that up. I'm gonna drop that down to the bottom, and you always want to push that bar, the ruler, back just a tiny bit beyond the surface there, just maybe a 1/16. And with a tri-square, never over tighten it. When you over tighten them, they go out of square. If you don't believe me, check it out. Just crank on them sometime and see what happens to your square. So it should just be just snug enough. Don't cheap out on a tri-square. Make sure it's a basically it's like a cast. I think this is a cast aluminum maybe. Don't buy a plastic one. They're not worth shit. So basically as soon as you start doing any welding around them, they're just screwed. They'll sit on something hot and melt away. So I'm just going to put this tri-square up against that and check for square. That thing is absolutely perfectly square right now. Likely because this end piece was cut in my I have one of those dry cutter saws. They're great. They cut really nice with a brand new blade, they do. And very square, especially if you buy a good machine. Some of the cheaper Chinese machines I've used, they're not quite as accurate as mine. Mine's a Porter cable, but you know, you get what you pay for. Twice as much money, it's going to be twice as good, hopefully. So she's dead on square on this side, so I don't have to really worry about anything. When you put a joint together like this, another thing, I don't recommend those triangle magnets, those red magnets, welder's magnets. They're not bad, but they quite often cause a bit of problems. You got to clean them all the time because obviously they're magnetic. They're attracting every single piece of dust and spatter in your shop, and you got to clean them off and make sure there's not the slightest little dingle ball under there or anything like that, because they will mess you up. You're much better off just kind of going by eye, and you know, there are moments where I've used them and they've you know, kind of been the third hand you don't have, and you know, maybe I could design one to hold this damn camera. That might be a good idea, actually. I have to work on that project. So anyway, what you want to do when I'm putting this stuff together, I kind of don't think about it too much. It's sort of on autopilot, but I'll slap my square against this here, and if it was a little out of square, like you know, it had, say, over a foot, it had maybe a 1/16 out. I guess it doesn't really matter, but if it has any out to it, the side where it's if it's leaning this way, put your tack here on one corner. Never put your tack in the middle. Put one here and go with that one. Don't put it at the outside edge, but put it just on the inside to this side or the other side. Just depends, you know, whichever is more comfortable for you. Then what you do, likely that tack, when you put that tack there, that's gonna pull this back this way through contraction. Quite often it'll pull it right back to where you want it. If it lines up perfectly, then you may want to push it back beyond where you were, that direction, a little bit out of square, but not nearly as much as it was before, and then put your tack on the opposite corner. And then what that does, when that one contracts, it brings it back, and 8 times out of 10, it's pretty damn close to being right on where you want it. Then go around. If it needs to go a little more this way, do that third tack on this side first. If it needs to go that way, then do this one first, right? So You know, you may not remember that, but it's a good trick for fabricating quickly. You know, you can throw a joint together, a square joint, in a matter of minutes, really. Maybe even a minute, you know, or less. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just show you without holding it. I'm just going to put a tack there. And we'll see what it does. See if it pulls it back out of square, which it will do. So hold on a second. Okay, now I just did that without a helmet. I just closed my eyes. I'm sure you've seen Paul Jr. do that on American Chopper. If you are going to do it, you'll see a lot of people kind of cringe when you do it. They say it's not really all that safe to do, but I think if your eyes are closed, that's probably the safest safety glasses you'll ever have. What you do is put that right in 45 degrees, exactly 45 degrees, start your tack, come down a little bit with it, and then go back up beyond that a little bit, and then back to the middle again, and it'll weld. You'll see some people, when they first start doing it, they just think you hold it right in there and squeeze that trigger and wait. Well, a lot of times it'll hit the bottom a little more than the top, and it just won't be a good tack. So just rock it back and forth like that a couple times. So we got that there. Now we're going to check this for square. And as explained earlier, it will draw. So we do have a little gap there at the bottom because it drew back a 1/16 of an inch over that 9 inches. And so what I want to do, normally I would have held that, you know, just with my hand. When I did that tack, if I had held this with a little down pressure, it wouldn't have pulled very much. But in this case, it pulled about a 1/16. So what I got to do now is, when I go to the opposite corner, this corner, I'm gonna push down and back this way with my hand, and then put my other tack. So I'm going to do that now, but I'm going to have to set the camera down to do that because I don't have 3 hands. So just hang on a second. See if you can actually see this. Alright, I don't know if you can see that or not. I have to review the tape, but anyway, we've got a good tack there. And we'll grab our square again. She's dead on. She pulled it right back, right where you want it. Both sides are dead on square. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is you don't have to do anything else. This is good enough now. As long as these are good, strong tacks, you only need those 2 tacks. Not in every case. If you want to be very, very secure about your project, then go ahead and put 4 tacks. But you know, in some ways, you're not being completely efficient. This other tack that's back here now is so strong, it really won't draw this way. So I can run this bead, then I can spin it around and run this bead. Never start your weld on a tack. Start over here and run into that tack. It'll look cleaner, and you won't have a big lump where your tack was. That's why I was saying don't put your tacks in here, because when you go to weld and you go to go over that tack, it's going to be a one shit ass looking weld. So I'm just going to put my helmet on here and we'll weld that out. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there you go. Perfect weld. Has a perfect profile, like with the hump shape in the middle that I was telling you. And we'll check the other side here for square, just to see if it drew a tiny bit. And